The archivist's fingers froze above the glowing panel. Her name was Sivelna, an elder of the Ziran memory caste. She had spent over 200 years cataloging histories of dead worlds, lost species, and vanished empires. But never had she seen this. She blinked again. The name was there on the request form. Earth, a long-forgotten blue planet from the outer edge of the spiral. Once home to a curious species called humans, Sivelna searched the Great Galactic Archive. Nothing. No. History. No war records. No extinction file. Not even a footnote. Her breath caught. That wasn't just rare. It was impossible. She reached deeper. Into the restricted layers. She entered codes meant only for war historians and council elders. Still, nothing. Impossible. She whispered, her long violet fingers shaking. Behind her, the lights of the archive flickered far across the galaxy. In a darkened war chamber, High Commander Varel of the Tharn Dominion slammed his fist onto the holotable. "You told me Earth was gone," he shouted. The room was silent. His advisors shifted nervously. "They are," said one of them. "They disappeared over 300,000 cycles ago. No trace, no activity. All scans show nothing." Varel narrowed his eyes. "Then why?" He turned the screen. A black triangle floated in space, its surface smooth like obsidian, without lights or markings. It had no energy signature, no communication channels. But it hovered just beyond the borders of the core world's dot. It hadn't moved. It hadn't attacked. It just appeared and yet it gave off one signal. A repeating pulse. 3 tones, then silence. 3 more, then silence. Every scan said it was human in origin. Back in the archive hall, Sivelna opened a forbiddance file. Only one person had ever tried to delete an entire species from the records, the Council itself. During the silent cleansing, centuries ago, some worlds had been erased for threat to galactic order. But even then, their ruins remained. Data fragments. Ghost signals. Not Earth. Not humanity. It was like they'd been surgically removed. From time, she leaned back in her seat, her body cold. And then, the screen glitche. A message appeared. No input. No system opened it. It just wrote itself. "You forgot us. But we didn't forget you." Sivelna screamed. Meanwhile, on the trade planet Varkus Prime, a small crowd gathered around an old scavenger shop. A trader had brought in a strange item metal, smooth and shaped like a coin. It had no known material match. One side showed a symbol none recognized, a circle with lines like orbit paths. The other side? Just one word: Earth. In the Council of Species Central Chamber, panic had started to grow. Several outer colonies reported the same anomaly. A black ship, unmoving, watching. All reports showed no aggression, no communication. But power levels were massive hidden. Under Stealth. One ambassador asked the question everyone feared: what if they're back? Someone else answered in a whisper: they're not back. They've evolved. In a hidden part of the galaxy, far beyond any charted maps, a human stood before a giant viewing screen. He wore a black uniform with no rank, no patch. He had no name, only a purpose. On the screen, he watched Sivelna fall back from her chair. He saw the coin passed around on Varkus Prime. He saw the Council begin to panic. He smiled. "It begins," he said softly. Behind him, thousands of ships floated in silent formation, sleek, black, undetectable. Humanity had been preparing in the dark for hundreds of thousands of years. They didn't just survive. They became something more. They watched every move. They remembered every insult. And now, they were coming. The patrol ship Trillion 4 moved slowly through the edge of known space. Captain Rel sat at the controls, bored. Nothing ever happened out here. Then the alarm screamed. Uncharted mass ahead. Shouted his navigator. Rel blinked. What kind of mass? No ID, no movement. Just sitting there. On the screen, it looked like a shadow made of metal. A black ship, silent, still, and huge. Twice the size of any known battleship. No lights, no windows. No visible engines. It hovered near a collapsed star, where nothing should exist. Rel ordered scans. The sensors failed. Then the ship turned, not physically, but the feeling was clear. It had noticed them. Back at the Galactic Council, the news came fast. Another sighting, barked a technician. Outer rim sector, same design, same signal. The same pulse. 3 deep tones, then silence. Over and over, the council stared at the images. 1 ship. Then 3, then 9. All black. All silenta, hologram of the shape, spun in the middle of the room. A long triangle, flat, sharp-edged, no signs of life, no signs of weapons. But one word had now appeared across the surface of all ships, glowing in blue. Remember. On a moon station above Kelix 9, 2 soldiers argued over their night patrol. What if it's just old tech drifting? One asked. The other pointed toward the sky. There, he whispered. They both looked up. Above them, stars were disappearing, one by one. It wasn't the stars. It was something blocking them. Dozens of black ships, passing silently overhead. Inside, the Council's military command, panic turned into anger. This is intimidation, yelled a war general. Send a warning shot. But before they could, every black ship vanished at once. They blinked out. No trail. No signal. Gone. Just like Earth did, long ago. Back at the archive hall, Sivellna couldn't sleep. She ran simulations. All night, every path led to the same result. If the black ships were human, the galaxy had no defense. No one knew what tech humans developed in isolation. They were unpredictable, creative, dangerous. One phrase kept ringing in her mind. They didn't forget. Somewhere far, in a hidden command deck, he said, a file was sent to every communication relay in the galaxy. No encryption. No language translation. Just a human voice, old and calm. This is not a war cry. This is your final warning. We are not your past. We are what you made us, and we are watching. And then, silence. The black ships returned, this time above. Capital worlds. They didn't fire. They didn't land. They just watched. And the message repeated. Asterisk. Remember. Asterisk. The stars blinked. Not just in one sky, but in every sky across the galaxy. On peaceful planets. On war-torn moons. Even in deep space. Stations, the stars pulsed in sync. One long blink. Then a pause. Then a whisper filled the air, not heard, but felt deep inside. Wasn't noise. It was a voice. High above the city world of Tavarax, traffic froze mid-air. Ships powered down. Screens turned black. Then every screen lit up with a face. Human. Old. Scarred. Eyes like burning ice. He spoke slowly, in perfect galactic standard. You deleted our name. You erased our people. You buried our home. But we endured. And now we speak again. In the Council's command room, chaos exploded. That signal wasn't sent from one place, Patek shouted. It came from everywhere all at once. Another. Stammered. Impossible. That kind of spread would take thousands of relay points. The room fell silent. It meant only one thing. The humans were already inside the galaxy. On the mining world of Zenthis 4, an old worker fell to his knees. Clutching a broken badge. It had the Earth symbol. He whispered. They're back. I knew they'd come back. The message continued. The human's face did not blink. His voice stayed calm. We came not with bombs, not with fire, but with truth, and a memory sharper than any blade. Across space, people cried. Others screamed. Some cheered. The name humanity trended across every data stream. Children asked what an Earth was. Elders wept quietly in dark corners. One empire shut down its military networks entirely. They remembered the stories they were told to forget. On a hidden ship far beyond the rim, a nameless human stood before a glowing star map. He touched one world after another, each lit up in red. "These are the places that watched us burn," he said. "These are the names we will not forget." A soft chime rang. "They've heard the message," said his second dash in dash command. He nodded. "Good. Then now, they'll see what we've become." Back in the archive, Svelna stood before her silent hall of history. She looked around at the other historians, most shaking, others confused. "We failed," she whispered. "We let the truth die." A new entry blinked into the system. No one added it. It simply appeared. Species reinstated. Human status active, watchful, dangerous. And all across the galaxy, one word began to echo: vengeance. Not from rage, but from silence too long held. From a name buried too deep. And from a people no one believed would ever return. Asterisk. The first planet disappeared without warning. No explosions. No ships. Just gone. When the patrols arrived, all they found was space dust, where a colony of 5 million once lived. No distress call. No debris. Only one thing remained: a black shard, floating in space, etched with one word: remember. Admiral Karen of the Aryan fleet stared at the report with trembling hands. She'd seen war, she'd seen extinction events, but never surgical erasure. Her second-in-command whispered, "Is it them?" Karen didn't answer. She just turned to her war console and whispered a word she never thought she'd say again: humans. Across the galaxy, the pattern repeated. Silent attacks, survivors, no wreckage. Each time, a single human symbol left behind, glowing for exactly 87 seconds, then vanishing. Galactic leaders called emergency meetings. Some demanded war. Others called for surrender, but no one could find the humans. No signals. No bases. No ships. Asterisk. They moved like shadows, unstoppable, invisible. Back in the Black Fleet, buried in a void between galaxies, the nameless humans stood before a long row of dark screens. Each screen showed a different world. Each world had a history, one that included betrayal, slavery, or genocide against Earth's people long ago. He raised a hand. Activate Protocol V. His officers didn't ask questions. They simply obeyed. Protocol V didn't mean violence. It meant memory. On 10,000 worlds. Old files were reawakened. History videos, testimonies, ancient broadcasts. Stories that had been deleted. Voices that had been silenced. Now they played on every screen. The truth of what was done to Earth. The lies told afterward. The betrayal of the species once called human. On the education planet Colmars, students screamed as their holoboards turned to fire and flood. They watched the fall of Earth in real-time, cities burning, ships breaking apart, children crying in dark bunkers. They saw how Earth begged for help and was ignored. They saw the names of those who stayed silent, including their own leaders. Galaxy had always feared humanity's strength, but they forgot humanity's memory. And now that memory had become a weapon. A weapon sharper than any laser, colder than any bomb. On the Council homeworld, screens exploded into chaos. One alien shouted, "Stop the feed. Shut it all down." But it was too late. Billions had seen it. Billions now questioned everything. and somewhere in the darkness of space, humanity waited not for an apology, not for revenge, but for recognition. Asterisk. The council doors did not open. They exploded. Shards of gold and glass flew through the air as smoke poured into the great hall of species. Alarms screamed. Dozens of guards drew weapons. Council members dropped to the floor. From the smoke, a figure stepped forward, tall, calm, dressed in black. Human. For a full minute, no one spoke. Then the human raised his hand. "I am not here to hurt you," he said, voice quiet but firm. "But I want you to feel what we felt when the stars turned their backs, when you closed the gates, when Earth cried out." He paused, and no one answered. His eyes scanned the room. "I want you to remember." The room erupted in panic. Security drones activated. Ambassadors shouted for evacuation. But the human raised one small black cube and pressed a button. Everything froze. No one could move, not even breathe. Time itself stopped. Only the human moved freely. He walked among them, looking into each frozen face. "You erased our name," he whispered. "You buried our dead with lies." Then he placed the cube at the center of the chamber. "I give you one gift, truth." And he was gone. When time resumed, the cube pulsed. Then it began to play. Holograms flickered in the air. They showed council leaders, past and present, signing off on Earth's erasure, approving silence, funding blockades, calling humanity a failed experiment. The truth now hung in the air for all to see. Live streams across the galaxy picked up the feed. Billions watched. Protests erupted on every world. Councils collapsed. Allies turned against each other. Old alliances shattered. News anchors whispered what everyone now feared. We trusted the council. They lied. On the underground network known as the Drift, rebels shared messages from old Earth, stories of strength, of music, of mercy, of rage. They called it the human flame. Across 100 systems, people began to say the forbidden's name with all call on Earth. In the hidden black fleet, the nameless human stood before a map of now burning political zones. He didn't smile. He didn't speak. He simply pressed the final phase. Protocol R. Not revenge. Not ruin. Just one final step. Recognition. And at a lonely moon station, a child looked up at the stars and asked her mother, "Are they heroes or monsters?" Her mother answered quietly, "They were once like us, but we made them into something else." Asterisk. The stars bent around it. That was the first sign. A scouting drone from the outer reaches sent back a single image before going dark. A planet surrounded by swirling light shaped like a storm, glowing blue and silver. The planet was Earth. It didn't look like the Earth from the old records. It was bigger. Brighter. Shielded by tech no one could explain. Alive. An angry. In the secret halls of the fallen council. Only 5 members remained. They watched the image on the wall. "What is that?" whispered one. The other replied with shaking hands, "That is what 800,000 years of silence created." Earth had rebuilt itself, not with the galaxy's help, but against it. The planet was hidden by cloaked satellites, surrounded by defense rings that bent light and gravity. Cities floated in the skies. Massive AI structures pulsed on the surface. Oceans glowed from beneath. Earth had not just survived. It had become something else. In the skies above, the Black Fleet now hovered thousands of ships, each silent and still. They did not point weapons. They did not call for surrender. They only sent one signal to every species at once. We are no longer lost. On neutral planets, millions gathered to watch the first open broadcast from Earth. A woman appeared on the screen. Human. Young, but with silver eyes and a voice that echoed with power. She spoke calmly. "We are the children of those you left behind. We were born in darkness, raised by machines, forged in silence, and now we return not to destroy you, but to remind you we were always here. The galaxy stopped. Even pirates, warlords, and old enemies paused to listen, because for the first time in thousands of years, Earth spoke Dot, and every species felt it in their bones. On the planet Nalker, a child asked, "Why didn't they speak before?" His teacher replied softly, "Because we didn't listen." So they stopped trying. Back in orbit, the nameless human stood at the command deck, staring down at the planet that once burned. Now it glowed with power, beauty, and wrath. He didn't smile. He simply said, "Phase complete. Earth is seen." Then he turned to the stars. One final message remains. Asterisk, he stood alone. On the council floor, they once said humans would never enter again. Now it was silent, no guards, no speeches, only the echo of his boots on polished stone, in his hand. He held no weapon, only a flag, black, with a single blue circle in the center. Earth reborn. One by one, the surviving leaders stepped forward. Their faces were pale, their eyes full of fear. And something else. Shane. The human looked at them, not with hate, but with something deeper. Memory. "We came back," he said, "but not for revenge." He paused, letting the silence hang heavy. "We came back so no one else would be erased like us. Forgotten, buried." He placed the flag at the center of the chamber. "This is our peace." Across the galaxy, screens lit up. People from every species watched. They expected war. They expected fire. But instead, they saw hope. On Zenthus 4, the old miner cried, "I thought we were going to die," he whispered. But they chose peace. On the sky world of Erix, a young alien girl whispered to her friend, "Humans are not monsters. They're just tired." The nameless human left the chamber. No victory speech. No threats. Just one final message sent across all networks. This is Earth's final act. Not destruction, not conquest, but memory. Let none be forgotten again. Asterisk 1 week later, the galaxy held its first unified memory day. A day to remember. All species lost. A day that began because one erased race found its way back and forgave in a quiet garden on the new Earth. The human stood among tall trees and soft wind. A voice beside him said, "We could have ruled them." He shook his head. "We already did, with fear." Now he looked up. "They'll remember us, not for how we returned, but for what we chose." And far across the stars, where light moves slow and memory is long, the galaxy whispered the name again. Earth. This time, not in fear, but in respect. The end. Asterisk.